motherfucker was scared. Ain't nothing in some of them gangs but a whole bunch of fucking cowards.
Wake your punk ass up.
Warrior class, Zoo, stand up. Warrior class, Zoo, rise up. Warrior class, Zoo, speak up. Warrior class, Zoo, show up. Warrior class, Zoo, smoke 'em out. Peace, blessings, and Black Power, family. It's Amaja away too. I'm black at it again. As always, you don't have to put me on the screen. Today is not a visual. It's an audio. So go ahead and put me in the Bluetooth. Go ahead and put me on this car radio. Go ahead and put me in the headphones. Pull up a chair and let's see if we can get into something. I'm bringing to you today another example of how, in my interpretation, is that the majority of the men today are weak. Black men are weak. I always go after the men. You've heard it 1,000 times. I'm always trying to explain why you are weak. How did we get here? We got here primarily because of the system. The system of what? The terroristic system of racism, white supremacy. That's how we got here. We got here because what they did is they unleashed an educational, they unleashed a psychological, and they unleashed an economical plan to basically stifle, make difficult, not necessarily eliminate, but to move the goalposts every time a generation of African Americans, a generation of foundational blacks get somewhere in life. They move the goalposts to make sure that they don't really get there and rest in it, rest in their success, rest in their championship. So in order to do that, you got to change the way people perceive things. You got to change the way people look at society. You got to change the way people are looking at things, problem solving. And my interpretation is, my perception is, black men are weak. You are weak because your mama's made you weak and your daddy's allowed it. Your moms did make you weak because of the system of racism, white supremacy. Because what she was trying to do, she was trying to keep you safe. In the process of trying to keep you safe, I got to be careful because I also blame African matriarchy. So when I say it, I want to keep it in the context of what I'm going to right now. I'm not talking about the grand scheme of things. So in one breath, you're going to hear me say because of African matriarchy. And then in another breath, you're going to hear me say white supremacy, racism. So if you're not aware of how I get to the bottom of this, it'll sound like I'm double talking or it'll sound like I'm contradicting myself. And I'm not. I'm giving you this disclaimer right now because I'm trying to show you how white supremacy, racism is as effective as it is because it is a system that existed before white supremacy, racism. It's just that white supremacy, racism capitalized on it. African matriarchy is the primary reason where they put the women over the men and they have the men subjective or subjugated to the women. If an outsider comes in, he sees that this is their religion. He sees that this is their spirituality. He sees that this is the order of operations. Then what he does is he either makes it work for him or he gets rid of that because it's causing an issue. Same thing with Christianity and voodoo. It causes them a problem, so they get rid of it. And they tell the people to adopt the new way of thinking. So I want to make sure that when I say why these things are in place, I want to make sure every time I do it, you don't try to conflate it and try to say, well, I thought you said it was this. Well, how come you're saying it's that? It's both of them together, but they use them interchangeably. Okay, so I want to get that disclaimer out. But for this particular case, it's because your mama's made you weak and your daddy's allowed it. And I keep explaining, you got to get the cowards out. We can't accomplish our goals not because of the fighting class. We can't accomplish our goals not because of lack of reading. We cannot accomplish our goals because we're on drugs or the prostitution. These negative things that are in the equation, those negative things are really not the reason why we as a people are not able to acquire and accomplish for a long sustaining period of time the things that we're supposed to acquire and accomplish. Yes, drugs exist. Yes, addiction, alcoholism exists. Yes, those things are there, but they're not the primary reason why we, the people, are not able to get to a point of sustained liberation, sustained justice, or sustained equality. The primary reason why we are not able to get to a position of sustained liberation, sustained equality, and a position of sustained justice is because, one, women. Women keep teaching and making and thinking that acquiescing to white supremacy racism, they keep thinking that way. So in return, they teach other men, they teach their suitors, they teach their sons to be the same way. The women typically nest in an environment. Even if she's been kidnapped, you've already heard of the Stockholm Syndrome. Even if she's been kidnapped, she will nest in her environment. Women already know, the female already knows she doesn't have the physical fortitude, the physical capability to defeat her captor, her enslaver. She already knows she can't muscle him. So what she typically does is she'll give in, because it's better to give in and let him have his way with you versus him busting your head open, blackening your eye, popping your eye out of socket, splitting your lip, breaking your ankle, and then having his way with you. So what the female does is she will acquiesce. And in order for her to acquiesce, she also has to teach her son to do the same thing. Most of us grew up in a situation and or environment where we knew our mothers was the reason why we were in the predicament we were in. Most of us understand when we hit that 13, when we hit that 12, when we hit that 8, it was like, oh, we're here because of you. Then you go and you do this and you do that and you rebel against your mom because quite frankly, things would not be this way if it wasn't for your mom. Your mom did this. Your mom left your father. Your mom did not marry your father. Your mom had multiple people in her house, in her company, circumference. Your mom got the wrong guy. You can unpack that any way you want, but the primary reason why we're here is because of our mothers. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's 100%. Because the whole thing I'm getting at is men are weak. Black men are weak. I'm explaining why black men are weak and how we got here. I'm also telling you the gangsters, the drug dealers, the pimps, the rappers, all of those are your weaker, even the athletes, even the entertainers, all of those are your weaker males, weaker male specimen. You need to be very clear what I'm saying. If I'm a man and I stand 6'2", I think 6'2" is your best fighting height. If I'm a man and you're 6'2" and you're 220 pounds, and I am 220 pounds, and I have another man that's 6'2", and we're 220 pounds. And everything down, when you look at the fight card, everything down the middle is split. Everything is the same. What I'm trying to get the listening audience, men, I'm always after you men, is to understand if we're able to do the exact same things, then how do you differentiate which one of us is weaker? And when you learn, we both have the same physical characteristics. But we both do not have the mental characteristics. Yes, we are both willing to do 100 pull-ups. If anybody's ever done 100 pull-ups, and I have, you know exactly the toll it takes on your body. If anybody's ever squatted 400 pounds, and I have, you know exactly the toll it takes on your knees, your ankles, and your hips. It doesn't necessarily take a toll on your muscles, your thigh muscles. It really doesn't bother your thigh muscles, but it does bother your joints. It tears your joints up. If anybody's bench pressed 400 pounds, and I have, you know exactly how it stresses your chest, your elbow, and your shoulder. It really doesn't bother your pectoral muscle, not as much. But your rib cage area, your shoulder where it attaches under the underarm, and your shoulder area where it touches the top, where it's your not your collarbone, but your rotator cuff. You know it to the exact degree what it messes with. So those are experience levels. And what I'm saying to the audience is, if we're all equal, if we're both equal, and we are capable and able of doing the exact same thing, then what is the difference between why I'm willing to cross the line and why the other man is not willing to cross the line? And it boils down to the psychology. So, even though they're rappers, even though they're thugs, even though they're gangsters, even though they're individuals that will kill, you need to understand, then why will they not approach the warring society? Why are they only always going after like imagery people who look like them? They're only always going after people who look like them. Well, in the lane that I'm in the world that I'm in, that's called bully cooning. Bully cooning, look it up. You got books out there, you got YouTube out there, and you got people out there that are very, very smart, and they deliver the truth. Some people deliver it one-sidedly because they're trying to get a narrative out. And then some people deliver it with both sides of the coin. I want to be known as a person that delivers it both sides of the coin so you can get both understandings. It doesn't matter if you think the way that I think, as long as you can get a better understanding of the current way you think. And hopefully, in the course of time, you will make a better decision. So I want to give you the truth, not simple fact, because fact and truth are two different things. However, you can use them interchangeably. So we're able to do the same things, but there's a line that one will cross that the other one won't cross. And what I said to you earlier is that the stronger men are the ones who originated a lot of our gangs. But they originated our gangs to keep our communities and neighborhoods safe, so that when outsiders come into our communities and neighborhood, we would have the necessary fighting mechanisms to ward them off, to keep us safe. Like with everything, it doesn't go according to plan. So I keep it saying, I don't like tabletop discussions. I don't like tabletop discussions because realistically, they don't move the needle. It's just psychobabble. I don't like Christians. It has nothing to do with the individual. Because the individual, I've met some kind Christians. So then why don't I like Christians if I met some kind Christians? I typically don't like Christians, not because they're kind or not kind. I typically don't like Christians because Christians, they have already established they're not going to participate. And I don't like cowards. Christians are cowards. I don't like scholars, because I like scholars as far as academia. That is about it. Outside of that world, do not ask a scholar to lift a hammer. A scholar is going to tell you how that hammer was designed, who engineered that hammer, which hammer is the best hammer, which hammer is used better for this job, where you should store this hammer, how you should store this hammer. A scholar is going to do that, but a scholar ain't going to be able to pick that hammer up and do what it's supposed to do because they're too busy telling you the importance of a hammer. I don't like your Queen Mother Goddess. Your Queen Mother Goddess individuals, I don't like them because what they are is they're academic, psychological, pseudoscience, whatever the terminology is, but they appeal to black women. So they're the type of men that will come into the environment and yes, queen, yes, Gaia, yes, mom, yes, mother. Those are those ones that speak that language because they appeal to the women. And what that tells the women, it's like a form of worship to the women. So he's not going to move the needle because he's not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize his affiliation or connection to the women. If he believes that the black woman is God, then in essence, there's only one person that can fix this, or one gender that can fix this, and that's the female. And the female is not going to fix this. She is the reason why we're in this predicament. Right? I can go down the list about the things that I like and I don't like. That absorbs time. I wanted to focus on cowards. You are a coward. Black men are weak. And I want to focus on how we get here and multiple examples of black men being cowardly and black men being weak. When these individuals join gangs, when these individuals get all tattooed up, you must understand that is the weaker male. Am I saying that every person that joins the gang is the weaker male? You cannot ever say every, and you can never ever say all. But you have to learn how to do the math. And about 90% of the men that join, males that join gangs, are weak. About 90%. You have to learn the rules. Many of us grew up in the time between the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. The 60s, the 70s, and the 80s was the time frame when they were jumping you in, even if you didn't want to be jumped in. If you lived on that block, they would ask you the question, who are you with? And if you like, nah, man, I ain't got no colors, man. I ain't claiming no set, man. Nah, I ain't a part of that. I don't want to be. They would either kill you, they would chase you off, or they would beat you up every day to the point where you got chased off, or you decided to fire back on them, resulting in either you taking one of them out or one of them taking you out for retaliation. So if they were terrorizing a neighborhood to force young black males into the gang, then you got to understand how it works. The ones that said no were reprimanded and they were punished for saying no. Those were your stronger males. Nah, man, I ain't with that. Nah, man, leave me alone, man. I ain't with that. Or the ones that didn't get, okay, if that's what I got to do, man, I'm going to do it. So the weaker ones say yes, the stronger ones said no. So by default, in that paradigm, not an absolute, just an indicator, in that paradigm, the weaker ones say yes, the weaker ones join the gang. If the stronger ones said no, they were killed, chased off, or they were beat up on every day. So if you got the stronger ones created it, you guys have to do the math. Do the math. What happened to them stronger ones? If I'm your stronger male and I said, man, we got to find a way to protect ourselves. Man, I'm tired of the lynchings. I'm tired of us every time they come around, they want to beat on us. Man, I'm tired of the crosses in the yard. Man, I'm tired of that. If I say we need to come up with a way to protect ourselves, but I'm the alpha, I'm stronger. I don't like the word alpha, but I'm using it in context just for this because that's what some of you all believe in. But there is no such thing as alpha in the human experience. But let's just use it for the sake of lack of words. I'm the alpha, and I say these are the things that we need to do to protect ourselves and our community so we don't experience another Emmett Till. Boom, create it. Other men feel the way I feel. We doing our thing. We going to work. Somebody say they did something to Leroy. They did something to Leroy. Well, where Leroy at? Well, Leroy, blah, 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 blah. Boom, we show up. I heard you got Leroy Jenkins. Where Leroy at? Of course, they don't give us the answer that we want, so we start thumping. Time goes by. Yo, we got to put a stop to that. Why? Because they got a fighting force. Who? I don't know, man. They call his name Amaja, and he done got some men together. And whenever we go in that community to do what we normally do, keep the peace, Wink, wink. He and his boys are always around somewhere, preventing us from keeping the peace. Find out who he is, find out what his name is, find out what he do for a living, and see if we can put a stop to this. Time goes by, you find out who he is, and then they put a stop to this. When I'm asking you guys, I'm asking the listening audience, even if you got to pause, sometimes you got to pause the video. What happened to the stronger men that actually created the gangs? And then what happened to the mission statements that those men created for the purpose of those gangs? So then how does the gangs become so violent and criminal only towards other black people? How does the switch happen? And it ain't because of no leather coat. Even if a leather coat incident does pop off, you don't go 60 years because of a leather coat. Something else is at foot. And history says, because white supremacy, racism, the terroristic society, they came in and they co-opted that organization. So if they co-opted that organization, who did they put in charge? What personality type did they put in charge? Did they put that alpha personality type in charge? Did they put the stronger male personality type in charge? Or did they put that weaker male personality type in charge? If they put that stronger male personality type in charge, it's a contradiction. Because us stronger males in every generation and every decade, we're always trying to liberate our people, whether it be women or men. We're always trying to seek justice for our people, jobs, education, housing, always. So and teach our people separate but equal. So if those are our criteria, if that's our pattern, do for self, then how does this individual come up and he's like, whatever you say, boss. Next thing you know, for 50 plus years, our communities are destroyed. Do the math. I don't want to linger too long. I want you to understand. Weaker men are in position. And weaker men basically cultivate and teach other males how to be weak. Same thing your mom does. Your mom made you weak. And same thing on the football team. It's the same thing in everything other organization. You already know that Leroy was strong. How do you know Leroy was strong? Because when you and Leroy, Mike, man, whatever term, Pookie or Ray, we all got him. Junior or Baby Boy. No matter the name, you've already known they were strong because you saw how many pull-ups they would do on the tree. You saw how they would run and jump that gate without ever touching that gate. You saw how they would do backflips. You saw how they would, if something went down, they would climb a building and jump into the window. Like, damn, how did you do that? Like, nah, man, because they went somewhere practicing. When it's time to show off in front of you, they were perfect. You pretty much already knew who was stronger than you. So when the real world tapped you on your shoulder, you were like, you know who's going to cause me a problem? Nah, man. You know that cat, Amaja? Nah, who you talking about? Nah, the dude down there on 125th Street. What? He's the one with the sister, the oldest sister. He's on 125th Street. What do he look like? He's the one and he wears the lottos. Oh, I know that dude. He's gonna be a problem. Why? He don't bother nobody. It's not that he doesn't bother nobody. It's that out of all the guys that are here, he's the one that'd be least likely to go along with the program. So what difference does it make? What he's gonna do is he's gonna encourage other people not to go along with the program. And I don't know about all that, but you the one in charge. What you gonna do about it? I think we need to go ahead and we need to ask him some serious questions before we get this thing popping off, because I think Amaja's going to say something. Now he's either going to say something and not join, because if he doesn't join, then it's going to make everybody else say, well, if he don't join, I don't have to join. And we can't afford that. So we need to round up Amaja real quick to see if he's going to join. Because if we can get Amaja, then everybody else will fall in line too. Boom. Time goes by. Amaja's dead. Nobody speaks up on why Amaja's dead. But the people that understand what I'm talking about understand exactly what I just described. Next thing you know, the entire neighborhood or 75% of the neighborhood has brought into the gang. But Amaja's dead. So because that was their example, that all that they needed, that was their motivation, they joined the gang. So if all members joined the gang based on that example, that's an indicator that they were weaker males. So here we are, fast forward now. I'm explaining to you black men are weak. You're weak because your mama's made you weak and your daddy's allowed it. You're weak because now that weaker males are in position, weaker males pretty much are the ones who dictates the rules. And if weaker males come around stronger males, weaker males don't like stronger males because weaker males know stronger males are the only ones that can prevent them from being in position. They're the only ones that can exploit them. Why? Because then if you see this person do it and that person do it and y'all able to do it, then what is the significant difference? The significant difference primarily is the mindset, the emotional stance, how one problem solves, how one uses their energy, how one, acquires things and accomplish things. Do you do things all on your own, or do you try to do things with a collective? You understand what I'm saying? Your weaker ones are also the ones that's running around here shooting every chance they get for no real reason. When you look down at it and you really analyze what it is, there is no justifiable reason for shooting other black men, other human beings, just because it's hearsay, he say, she say, and somebody stepping on your toes. Those aren't legitimate reasons to take a life. They may be legitimate reasons to knock somebody out, thump them a little bit, but it's not a legitimate reason to extinguish their life. It just isn't. What I wanted to play here is another video, is another example of my interpretation of another individual saying the exact same thing that I'm saying in context. Play the tape.
That's just what it turned to.
That's what it turned to.
And
They got rid of the inmate guards, and I ain't gonna lie, I can see why white and Hispanic inmates formed the gang.
Right.
I was at East Ham when they got rid of the inmate guards there. It was a free-for-all at that motherfucker. Inmates getting raped, robbed, thrown off the third tier. It was so much violence there, it was a damn shame. The guy was used to the inmate guards keeping everything. They had controlled violence. When they got rid of them, it was a free-for-all for everybody. So I can understand why the gang started. Motherfucker was scared. Ain't nothing inside them gang but a whole bunch of fucking cowards. I call them protection rackets. You take one of their gang members and match him up man for man,
right.
He ain't shit.
Yeah.
He ain't shit. You get into it, one of them. I remember I got into it with a little Hispanic inmate playing chess. I slapped his motherfucking ass playing chess. This little bitch go get his homeboy. What you getting your homeboy for, punk? I slapped you.
Yeah.
So they come up with the remedy. So the black dudes out of Dallas say, y'all ain't fucking with school. That's bullshit. Say him and your homeboy can catch the square with school. He don't want none of that. So I had my leather gloves with the steel in them. He ain't want none of that.
Yeah.
So they end up disciplining his ass because he won't fight one-on-one. Them dudes ain't nothing but fucking cowards, man. Now, they dangerous. You can't underestimate they motherfucking ass. They will kill your ass.
Right.
But man to man, they ain't shit. That's why on my channel, I never glorify them.
So remember, keep in mind, they will hurt you. It's not a question of matter. Will they not put a dude to sleep? That's not the question. I will go hunt for deer. He will go hunt for deer. I will climb a building and get on top of the roof. He will climb a building and get on top of the roof. But what is the underlining difference? If I paint a house, you paint a house. But what is the difference? And the difference is the end result. All things will be the same. All things will be identical. But it's the end result that determines what your intentions were. My intention is to change the way that my people who look like me, foundational black Americans, are thinking about politics, science, research, academics, economics, entertainment, labor, law, science, and research, sex, and war. My way is to change the way that the more aggressive society has taught you to look at it. So I paint a house, you paint a house. The reason why I'm painting my house is so that I can increase its value and maintain its value and hopefully one day sell it. The reason why you are painting your house is really only for curb appeal. And this is what you guys need. I hope this was a fair enough example to get you guys to understand, even though we are doing the same things on a physical plane, we are not the same. And it's the end result. What is your intention? What is the desired result of you moving the way that you move? And usually the men that join the gangs are weaker men because they're not trying to go up against their true adversary. And by going in, clicking up with the gangs, they are quote unquote protected. They're protected from outsiders. They're protected from invaders to a certain extent. Whereas when you're looking at your Stokely Carmichaels, when you're looking at your Eldridge Cleavers, when you're looking at your Adam Clayton Powells, when you're looking at your Martins and Malcolms, they went against their adversary. And because they went against their adversary, well, even Marion Barry, D.C. mayor, Marion Barry, Washington, D.C. mayor, they went against their adversary. And because they went against their adversary, elephant in the room, they paid a specific price. And the price that they paid is a price that the weaker male doesn't want to pay. Not going to pay for that reason. Now, one path is a path to sure and certain death. The other path, you get to sit in jail for 20 and 30 and 60 and 70 years. The man that is speaking spent 42 years in lockup. That's 42 years. That's a lot of time, family. So if you're going to go to lockup for taking a person's life, why not go to lockup for taking the right person's life? Warrior class, Zoo, rise up. Warrior class, Zoo, speak up. Warrior class, Zoo, show up. Warrior class, Zoo, smoke 'em out.
Fair Use Act disclaimer. This site is for educational purposes only. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research.